It's from the training room at the Colts. J.J. Watt tweeted,
I think it's a very hard process to keep being on television.
a text from every human that I've ever done television with.
Let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Do it.
A team that has clinched its division title. It would have clinched whether they won or lost on Sunday against the Colts, because when the Browns lost, that gave it to the Steelers. They will be resting key starters. At a minimum, we know about quarterback Ben Roethlisberger. There may be others. Let's hear from Mike Tomlin talking about going to face their arch rival Cleveland Browns with, at a minimum, Ben Roethlisberger not playing.
One bye available in this single elimination tournament. We're not going to be that team. We made that bid, so we're prepared to lay in it. That's the most significant variable for us. And so that being said, given an opportunity to airmail a player or two to the postseason, we will. Ben will not be playing this week. We'll turn toward Mason Rudolph and our young quarterback positional group and give those guys an opportunity. We'll look potentially at resting some other guys in terms of making them inactive, but the number of those guys and who those guys are will be determined as we push through the week. Make no mistake about it, it does not change our intentions in terms of going to Cleveland this weekend. Football is our game. Our job is winning. We intend to do our job. We intend to prepare with that mindset and ultimately let our play lead us to that destination. We're not seeking comfort. We're not grading ourselves on the curve. This game is on the schedule. And so the guys that will be on the field will represent us, and the standard that is the Pittsburgh Steelers will be the standard.
I have a hard time reconciling the back end of what he said with the front end. Don't tell me that you're going to play to win if you're not putting your best players on the field. There's a strategic reason for you not to put your best players on the field. And I understand that you're not going to tell those guys to go out there and lay down. But if you're truly trying to win the game, you're using your best players.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Tough needle for Mike Tomlin to thread there, Chris.
Yeah, well, he's trying to keep, the pedal to the metal a little bit about the urgency in the building, and we're still trying to, big picture win something here, and it doesn't mean that we just, take the week off from practice and do anything like that. I don't, but you're right. It's hard to sell that to your team totally, but as you know, in the NFL, guys get their opportunity. They don't know anything different than let's go 100% and try to win that game. Now, it is going to be backups, like you said, but I can't. I mean, I don't know, Mike. What do you think here with Pittsburgh? For the Pittsburgh Steelers, for this team, what they've had to endure this year, it makes sense. Yes, sit Big Ben all the way. I would say sit. I said on Monday, I thought maybe the offense comes out and does something there. Okay, that's fine. The defense is what I'm concerned about. I want them to sit it. They're the team. They're the unit on the Steelers that needs to be really special come playoff time and help out an offense that we're not so sure is really consistently good right now. So I understand that. And, I know you and I have talked before too. It's a Steelers team that's been through a lot, and their front seven on defense plays the whole damn game. They got to be exhausted. They got to need, a little time off here. I would do that if I was Mike Tomlin.
Mentally and physically, because they never had a bye week this year. Week 4 became their bye unexpectedly. They were preparing to face the Titans that week, so they practiced as if they were going to play. That game didn't happen. It got moved to Week 7, which was their actual bye week, so bye-bye to the bye week. And then when Thanksgiving rolls around and you think you're going to get a mini-bye on the back end of the Thanksgiving night game against the Ravens, that goes bye-bye as well, because 6 days later they finally played the Ravens. So they've constantly been in football mode. They've constantly been in preparing for the next game mode, even when the next game doesn't happen. So there's a mental aspect to it that I think is important.
Definitely.
With Ben, there's an injury aspect, even though when you look at the last 3 weeks of the injury reports, there's nothing on there by way of injury, and I don't know what's true and what's not true. But obviously he could use a game where he's not in uniform. And that was one of the keys to me for Tomlin. He was talking about other guys that may be inactive. That tells me that Roethlisberger won't even be dressed in a uniform. He will have clothes on the sideline. But the idea that T.J. Watt, do you put him in a uniform and tell him just stay there on the sideline? You almost have to keep some of those guys out of pads and no helmet in sight to keep them off of the field. and you can't just kind of partially have them there. It's all or it's nothing for a lot of those guys, which makes them great. So there's only so many guys on the roster who can be inactive. It makes you wonder how many of those defensive starters will end up not in uniform. And the ones who are in uniform, are they going to be happy standing around in uniform for 3 hours in Cleveland?
No, probably not, especially if they're not going to play. But that's just what they're going to have to deal with. I'm sure there's going to be a certain amount of players that, they dress up, they go through warm-ups, they play maybe the first 2-3 series of the game, they might be out. Then you're just sitting there with a jacket on, and you're jealous of the guys who are in street clothes, certainly. But, man, when it comes to, Cam Hayward, T.J. Watt, Stephon Tuitt, Alou on the front, I mean, those guys, I'm resting them. And if they are playing, it's very limited snaps, maybe just to get out there, get going for a little bit, and then get them out of the football game. I'd be too worried of something happening. And like you've pointed out, with the COVID-19, everything like that, the mental, physical gymnastics they've had to go through, I feel like they've been a little bit of a worn-out football team. They need a little recharge.
Is it enough, though, for the Steelers to kind of throw the hay in the barn and slam the door and say, we'll open it up again, wild card round, based on one half of good football? Is that one half? Now, it triggered euphoria in the locker room with the T-shirts and the hats. We talked about that the other day.
Right.
And, of course, at least I'm wearing green today if they decide to put the Grinch back up. But it's a real thing. They didn't demonstrate conclusively and convincingly that they fixed their problems. They just woke up for less than a half of football. Is that enough for them to confidently say, we'll be ready to go when the wild card rolls around?
I don't, they're going to tell themselves yes. But I don't know if I'm sold on it. That's why on Monday's show, we talked about it. I came out and I said, I don't know, this might be one of those things where maybe you do come out and play Week 17 just to get out there and kind of capitalize on the momentum a little bit. One more opportunity to go, okay, we are back. We feel good. Let's go. All right, we're ready for the playoffs. But I feel like, they came to the conclusion that the risk was not worth the reward at that point, and that they saw enough, and Big Ben's health and feeling 100% for the wild card game is more important than, the things we're mentioning. And I'll say this too, Mike, because for my podcast today, I'm going back a little bit and watching the matchups of these playoff game implications, right? And I watched the Browns-Steelers game from Week 6, I believe it was. There, you could tell Big Ben from watching that, after watching what I saw last weekend, is not moving the same. There's definitely a lower leg issue. There's no doubt about that. The last few games, how he stands in the pocket, just flat-footed as can be, doesn't move at all. Not that he's been moving a ton this year, but when I turned that game on, I went, oh, wait, he is moving a little bit within the pocket here, and definitely more than he has the last few weeks. So, I think there is something there and something to keep an eye on.
And I doubt that a week off is going to make him any better. It's just a question of avoiding making it worse. There have been reports of serious concerns about the knees. A hyperextended knee suffered in Week 13. But again, it was after Week 13 where he disappears from the injury report, except for his perfunctory Wednesday off that is not injury-related. And there's no mention of knee Week 14, 15, 16, or presumably Week 17. We'll see, because today's the day that we get our first look at the injury reports for all of the games on Sunday, because all of the games this week are on Sunday. We'll get all the injury reports today, and we'll see who's healthy and who's not healthy, and whether or not Big Ben lands on that injury report. Now, the Steelers could be strategically and deliberately conceding the 3 seed versus the 2 seed. They take the 3, they give the 2 to the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean as much this year. Remember what T.J. Watt told me on Sunday. They still have a hard time creating energy. They have to create it from within in that empty stadium. So does it really matter if you're playing the Bills in the divisional round, if that's how it shakes out, if both teams win in the wild card round and it's Steelers at Bills versus Bills at Steelers? Does it really matter whether they're hosting that game or going to Buffalo? Now, you don't want to travel if you don't have to, but Chris, if the Bills are able to have 6,700 fans present, that plan has been submitted. A decision on whether or not they can have fans present for the playoff games is imminent. That's still energy, even if it's negative energy. You've talked about how visiting players feed off of the hatred that they feel coming from it's still something to get you going. Sure. I don't know, maybe from the Steelers' perspective, they looked at it and said, for what we gain by potentially being the 2 seed, it's not worth what we potentially lose by declining to give some of our key players a break heading into a postseason.
I think that's fair. I think that's exactly what it is, Mike. If you made me guess, you're right. I mean, it's just, again, it's another risk-reward factor that they're not willing to gamble with that risk. And the reward isn't, in a year like this, that big of a deal to be at home as the 2 seed. You know, if it does play out the way where, okay, Buffalo, you know, somehow, well, it will play out that way either way. But yes, I don't think it's a big deal. The only thing that's different, all right, at all, is, hey, there is an advantage to playing at home and being home. There's no doubt about that. Is it some huge advantage? No. But if you gave me a choice as a football player in my prime right now to go back and play whatever it is, if you told me I could play a home game or an away game, I'm going to pick a home game. Yes, I'd like to, you know, be in the environment that I'm comfortable in. And there is something to that, but not such a great advantage to where you're going to go, well, we're going to play week 17 and we're a banged-up football team, but we're still going to play, you know, just to get the 2 seed in a year where, you know, like you said, it's not a ton of fans and it's not a big difference.
Well, especially if you're going to undermine your ability to get to the divisional round where you would be hosting the 3 seed versus going on the road as the 3 seed. If you can't get there because your team is too beat up.
Exactly.
As the Baltimore Ravens, for example, come to town, if you get the 2 seed. See, there's so many moving parts as to who's going to be in what seed in the AFC that it's hard to deliberately avoid someone because you really don't know. There's still a roll of the dice. You may wake up Monday morning, hey, we're the 3 seed. We've avoided the Ravens. Oh, crap, they're the 6 seed. And now we still have to play them. I think at some level, even though they would never admit it, that's a game that the Steelers would love to avoid if they can.
Well, listen, this is where I was going to go because I know we're going to talk about, you know, Sean McDermott and the Bills here in a second, but we might as well just include it in this conversation. I'm dead serious with this. Like, if I'm the Buffalo Bills, I'm doing anything I can. I'm scoreboard watching this weekend. I'm doing anything I can not to have to play the Baltimore Ravens. That would be the Baltimore Ravens, to me, if you're the Buffalo Bills, that's like the worst team they could see. I wouldn't want to deal with them. I would, I think, to a degree, try to avoid them the best I can. Like you said, there's no guarantee of anything. You know, we don't know how this is going to play out. I don't know, like, how it could all play out to where Baltimore can jump around between the 5, 6, and 7 seed. I mean, it doesn't look like, you know, I don't know. So you're right. You don't know how to play that. But I do think that would be a scary matchup for, yes, the Steelers, even the Buffalo Bills. Man, you got to play them, that running, you know, offense with Lamar Jackson. And, of course, that secondary, even if you're Josh Allen and all them, that's a little daunting. And that would cross my mind if I'm McDermott this week preparing for this one.
And a lot of those pieces are going to be unfolding at the same time. The early games include Steelers at Browns, Ravens at Bengals, and Dolphins at Bills. The 4:25 window has the Colts hosting the Jaguars and the Titans at the Texans. So the picture is going to be incomplete in the 1 o'clock window. You need an analytics expert just to help you understand where you're going. Are you the 2 seed? Are you 2 seed? Who are you likely to face? 3 seed? Who are you likely to face? And it could be that the Bills are trying to concede the 2 seed. The Steelers are trying to concede the 2 seed. If the Steelers lose, the 2 seed is Buffalo's win or lose against the Miami Dolphins. And Sean McDermott has said they're going to keep their plans internal for what they do on Sunday. I believe that given everything the Bills have accomplished the past 5 weeks, and Micah Hyde said yesterday the Hail Mary play sparked them, and they had that week off. They had to stew on it for 14 days before they played again. They won by double digits minimum every week since then. They've won 86-28 combined score their last 2 games. I would keep riding it. I would keep letting it fly.
I'm with you.
I would keep, and especially if you can avoid having to face a division rival in the postseason. You don't want to mess with the Dolphins in the postseason. It's been a long time since they've played, and the Dolphins are a lot better than they were when the Dolphins gave the Bills a pretty good game back in Week 2. 27-17, I think, was the final score, although I could be wrong. I'll just act like I'm right. What the hell? I think it was 27-17, though. But you don't want to see them again in the wild card round. You don't want that. You don't want to see them again at all. You would rather, although I know you think the Ravens are a bad matchup, I just think there's something psychological about a division rival coming into your building in the playoffs that you'd like to avoid it if you can. And I just think that they need to continue to ride this wave that shows everyone that they're for real. They need to convince themselves they're for real and convince everyone else they're for real as they head into the playoffs, so they're not one and done again. I think that's so much of why we've seen what we've seen recently. They are desperate to show everyone and themselves they're not a team that just punches a ticket to the playoffs and then punches out.
No, I think you're right, and I think you're right. They're a young team. They're just capitalizing on momentum and being a consistent football team and being one of the best teams in football. And in that conversation, I'm with you. If I'm Buffalo, I'm riding the momentum. I'm not letting us have a week off right now. Again, they had a late bye week this year. They should be a fairly fresh football team. They had a lot of guys get healthy really in the last 6 or 7 weeks too, to where they didn't have to deal with the wear and tear of the early part of the season. So I would think they're somewhat of a fresh football team. And yeah, I wouldn't want to let my foot off the gas pedal. I really feel like, hey, more times than not, the great teams, the great playoff teams we've seen in history, whether that's the team that's had to, fight their way into the playoffs and have been playing playoff games all through December, or that number 1 or 2 seed that we've seen in the past, who's had to play through December to make sure they're a number 1 or 2 seed, those always seem to be the teams that capitalize playoff time. That always. So that would scare me. And the other thing I would throw into this little thing here is, I'd want to play, capitalize on the momentum like you said, keep that going. I'd want to beat the Dolphins one more time. And then within beating the Dolphins, I think there, again, you'll increase your chances to where we expect Baltimore to beat Cincinnati. Baltimore will be a higher seed. You'll be a higher seed because you win and you avoid them. I'd be more worried again about Baltimore than I am Miami. You tell me, wait, you have a chance to have Tua and the Miami Dolphins coming to town, or Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens? I'm sorry, I love the Dolphins and what Brian Flores is doing, but I'm going to pick them all day long. I'll take Tua and the Dolphins. Sorry, I don't want to deal with that other team. And that might be their best way, just like what you're saying. Just pedal to the metal and go.
By the way, the score in Week 2 was 31-28. Dolphins losing to the Bills. I was misfiling in my brain the Week 1 score between the Bills and the Jets, 27-17. So right church, wrong pew for that 27-17 score. Thank you, Pete, for clearing that up for me. Here's another reason to knock out the Dolphins. Whatever it is that they're cooking up that feels special, especially after the game last Saturday night with the Raiders and the twisted head and the throw and the win. And, if you can knock them out of the playoffs, you kind of, not that you're going to completely kill it, but you at least slow down this growth of something with the Dolphins that may be getting out of control. And now next year you've got a real issue with the Dolphins in your division. If you can spray cold water all over this thing that they're putting together, maybe it helps you next year too. If they get to the playoffs, maybe they have a hell of a lot more confidence next year and they're more of a problem for you next year. So there's an added benefit to delivering an uppercut that knocks them out of the playoffs, Chris. And as you said, if it means the Ravens have a higher spot and you don't see them right out of the gates, all the more reason to take advantage of the opportunity to beat the Dolphins. And look, let's just simplify it. Your team is playing extremely well. Keep playing extremely well. Keep doing what you're doing. We hear, the cliches we hear from coaches all the time, don't reside in your fears, is one that I think makes a ton of sense, especially this week, because we've seen teams time and again, most recently the Ravens last year, when they took their foot off the gas, they rested guys week 17, then they have a bye, then it's 3 weeks between games, and then in come the Titans, who just beat the Patriots. They catch you flat-footed, and the next thing you know, you're done.
Exactly.
I think you want to keep going, and you want, and now you need to be ready to stand up and answer the tough questions. If Josh Allen or someone else get injured in a meaningless game, you need to be willing to say, look, we've seen time and again what happens to teams that deliberately surrender their momentum.
Right.
And we were not going to deliberately surrender our momentum.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're going to have to be able to answer those questions, certainly. But we saw.
But that's the answer. That's it. I mean, they act like they're afraid. Oh, they're going to go crazy if somebody gets injured. Well, they're going to be upset, but you say to them, we can't deliberately surrender our momentum.
Yeah,
we can't.
You go through the
because
facts.
What
of
happens
time.
to the teams that do?
Right. You can go through the facts of time. You just mentioned it. Baltimore last year. Oh, what? Kansas City had to play Week 17 last year. Oh, they won. Guess what? They rode that momentum into the playoffs, went to the Super Bowl, even though it was, all over the place as far as comeback wins and everything like that. You'll be able to point to, if you're Sean McDermott, to go, wait, Tom Brady and the New England Patriots went to 97 Super Bowls. They played like Week 17 every time. Like, every time. Didn't matter if they had it locked up or were a 1 seed or a 2 seed. They always played. They always kept the momentum. There is something about just playing, staying in your routine, staying in game shape, staying battle-tested, all of those things. That's where it's a tough balance for a coach here. Mike Tomlin, I tell him to rest him. They're a different team. They're beat up. It's been different. They're a little older in some spots. Okay, they're different. The Bills are a whole different entity in themselves, too. And they're not the Steelers with this, a quarterback with, playoff history and all of those things as well. So I'm with you, Mike, all the way. I think you ride the momentum. And, you can play the percentages a little bit, right? I mean, you wrote yesterday, okay, Pittsburgh, they're looking good for Cleveland right now, right, in that football game. I don't know what happens with Buffalo and Miami, but I think we can also sit here and just chalk it up and go, I feel pretty good that Baltimore is going to beat Cincinnati. So there you have two out of these 4 teams we're talking about that are really set up in a good spot to where, it'd be shocking to me if either one of those lose. So you can play it a little bit or figure it out a little bit, I guess is what I'm saying.
I think you're right. I mean, if the Browns lose to Mason Rudolph, then they don't belong in the playoffs. If you finish your season with a loss to the Jets and a loss to Mason Rudolph, you don't deserve a spot at the table. I don't care how many wins you have. Oh, we got 10 wins. We should be in. Not if you can't beat the Jets and Mason Rudolph in back-to-back weeks. And, of course, the Mason Rudolph angle means a reunion with Myles Garrett, that ugly incident from last November when Garrett, number 1, removed the helmet of Mason Rudolph, and then number 2 whacked him over the head with it. And it's still amazing to this day that Rudolph didn't suffer a serious injury. That could be something that bubbles up during that game, especially if the Browns are feeling frustrated, if the Steelers are finding a way to beat the Browns on a day where the Browns desperately need to win.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.
All right, power rankings time as we try to figure out which teams will make it to Super Bowl 55 to be played in 2021, even though it's the 2020 season. And Chris,
whoa,
we have a drum roll.
Whoa,
drum roll. Yeah, that's not a drum roll, but that's good enough. Look, in hindsight, it should have been an easier call than it was. And let me peel back the curtain. This is going to give you an understanding of how careful and deliberate and calculated these power rankings are. I had the Chiefs at number 1 and I had the Bills at number 2. I was looking for a good photo of the Bills and Chiefs together, right? Where I could show Bills and Chiefs on the same field because they're number 1 and they're number 2. And I was looking through our photo providers. We've got to deal with Getty and we've got one with USA Today Sports. And I found a photo of 2 players holding their helmets up, and they were Bills helmets. And it was just one of those things that kind of struck me. And it's all you see is 2 arms holding helmets up in the air. And it's 2 Bills helmets. And I looked at it and I thought, the Bills are the number 1 team. Just looking at that, it's like, it just kind of hit me. I don't care that the Chiefs beat the Bills. That was a lifetime ago as far as the NFL is concerned. Right. That doesn't matter anymore.
Right.
What matters is what's happened recently. And what's happened recently is the Bills have kicked the crap out of everyone they have faced. They have done it in prime time with everyone watching, and they dismantled, absolutely did to the Patriots what the Patriots did to the Bills and everyone else, frankly, for so many years. And here you got the Chiefs, who had to first of all, come back and take the lead against the Falcons, and then hold on for dear life and have that Younghoe Koo wrong way spin off to the side, although I know there's a guy who claims he partially blocked it. That still doesn't explain this thing moving like a boomerang away from the goalpost. Yeah, I made the Bills number one, and I feel good about it. And the more that time has gone by, I feel better about it, because you know what? There aren't a lot of Chiefs fans that are losing their crap over it, in part because it doesn't matter. And I think you'd rather not be the top dog going into the postseason. You kind of want to have something where you say, hey, they don't consider us number one anymore. That's an extra level of motivation. But still, I think that it's the right answer. I think right now the Bills are the number one team. Right now. That could change, but right now they're the number one team.
Yeah, listen, I mean, first off, to your first point, nobody gives a damn. You're exactly right about week 6, that matchup. That's forever ago. That doesn't mean you're necessarily better than that team at this moment or whatever it is. You try to me, what's most important is the last 5 or 6 games, really. That gives you a clear picture or a better picture of what a team actually is at that moment. Buffalo have been really impressive. There's no doubt. I think you're crazy to make them 1. I do. I'm sorry. I think you're crazy. 1A, number 2, right on the heels of the Chiefs, but absolutely not number 1. The Chiefs are the king, yes. And I love my boy Blue.
Wow.
But I will go into something
stunned.
you said.
I'm stunned.
I know you are. I'll go into something you've said all year long. Hey, there's something about when you got the bullseye and you're the king of the hill and everybody's cracking at, trying to get a crack on you and try to, take you out. There's something to be said about that. And even though Buffalo has been very impressive, there's no doubt, I don't look at their schedule over the last 5 weeks and just go, whoa, that was murderer's row that they just went through. It was some good teams, no doubt. But, man, the Chiefs, I know it hasn't been great, but they went to New Orleans and beat the Saints. They went to Miami and beat the Dolphins. They beat the Buccaneers in the last 5 weeks in Tampa. To me, that, even though it was ugly last week, I couldn't do it, Mike. I give you a lot of credit for throwing it out there, because it is really, really close right now. But I still, I think I probably would have put the Chiefs number 1 still.
Hey, and look, I don't know that the Bills will beat the Chiefs in the playoffs, but I think if they played right now, the Bills would win.
Yeah, I hear you.
They should. Okay. Whatever this magic is that they have right now, they need it to last. That gets back to our argument from last hour.
Right.
Don't rest your starters.
Right.
Don't do anything to disrupt whatever you have going on. You're in an extended zone. This is Michael Jordan against the Trailblazers spread out over a month. Keep it going, right? Keep it alive as long as you can and hope it's still there when it's time to play the Chiefs. And don't look past your opponents before you get to the Chiefs, lest you not face the Chiefs at all. But I think right now, if they could arrange a game and play it right now, the Bills would win. Whether or not I feel that way when they actually play, if they actually play in the postseason, is a different issue altogether. I am surprised, though. I thought you'd be on board with the Bills being number 1. I really am.
They are really worthy of a number 1 ranking. They really are. There's no doubt. I think what I come down to is a little bit of your last statement. I still think, even though Buffalo is playing better football and shown to be, consistently better the last few weeks, I just think if they were playing this week and it came down to it, I'm still picking the Chiefs in Kansas City. I am. As dangerous as I look at Buffalo, and I look at them as one of the teams that I go, ooh, they could beat Buffalo. I mean, this is one of the teams that can beat the Chiefs. I still think if it was head-to-head right now, I'd pick the Kansas City Chiefs to win that football game. I can't bow down to their magic and their big game, prowess or whatever, to just where they love that. And
that's close enough. That works.
Okay, it works. Okay, good. I wasn't sure if it did. I thought it did. It sounded right, but I wasn't sure. Good. I'm glad it worked.
But you're right, and that's where I have hesitation, because the Chiefs keep taking the absolute biggest body blows that every opponent can provide, and then with the game on the line, they unleash the haymaker, and it has a feel of inevitability to it. last week, opportunity for A.J. Terrell, the Falcons corner, to make a game-clinching interception. Didn't catch it. Next play, the PI -- missile. Although I don't want to go there. The rocket from Patrick Mahomes to Demarcus Robinson, and you knew it was coming.
Yeah.
You knew it was coming. And when you line up for the field goal to force overtime, you could feel it in the air that Younghoe Koo, Pro Bowl kicker, is going to miss it. You could just feel that it was going to happen. So that is a very real dynamic, and that's why I give the Bills a ton of credit, because the only way that you can overcome that dynamic of we're going to get you and you know it and we know it and it's inevitable, the only way you overcome that is when you walk in the door with so much confidence and so much swagger that they never have a chance to come get you, that you just beat the crap out of them. And in that moment where any other team would think, oh no, here we go, that you're gonna be above that because you have a level of confidence that none of these other teams the Chiefs have faced ever possess. That's what I think the Bills are going for. And right now they have it. That's why I think right now, if we could kick off at the top of the hour, 9 a.m. Eastern, get them together, play the game, the Bills would win. But by the time they get together, if they cross paths in the playoffs, I'm not sure I'm going to still feel that way. It's going to depend on what the Bills do. I mean, the Bills, we mentioned the 85 Bears a little bit ago. If the Bills go 85 Bears by way of domination, it's going to be more offensive than defensive, obviously. But if they win 42-14 and 35-12 or whatever the case may be in the wild card round and the divisional round, if they're rolling into Kansas City with that kind of momentum, I'm still going to feel the way I feel right now. But it's going to come down to what they do in those first two playoff games. If they just dismantle people the way they've been dismantling people lately, I'm going to think they have a chance to beat the Chiefs.
Listen, I don't think you're crazy with any of those thoughts. I think that's very real, and I think, again, like to your point, I think they are one of those teams that has that confidence / cockiness to, hey, we're on the big stage, so what? Oh, yeah, you're Mahomes. Well, I'm Josh Allen, and I'm going to do some stuff out here too. I feel like they've kind of gained – they're in their lifeline, like where the Chiefs were 2 years ago, like when the Chiefs' first year with Patrick Mahomes. I feel like that's where the Bills are, where it's got to the end of the season, and it's like we know we can beat anybody. We know there's this, sleeping giant that we're going to have to face. For the Chiefs, it was the Patriots, but they felt confident that they could beat them back at that time. And of course, if Dee Ford doesn't jump off sides or line up off sides, they're going to go to the Super Bowl that year. Buffalo should have some of those same feelings too, with the way they've played, the things you've explained, and the biggest thing, like the Chiefs, the Bills have a quarterback who can do just about anything. I mean, anything. And just jump on my back, jump on my shoulders. I got us right now, no matter how we're playing, whatever. And that's where, listen, all your points make a lot of sense, and it will be interesting with them versus the Chiefs if that does happen.
Another wrinkle that I had forgotten about because I was aware of it at one point, and I think we may have discussed it as the Bills-Chiefs regular season game approached. Andy Reid, the coach of the Chiefs, fired Sean McDermott in Philadelphia. Fired him. Fired him. They can try to sugarcoat it now and say it was best interest or whatever. He fired him. And the reasoning at the time was Jim Johnson, who had been the legendary defensive coordinator of Philadelphia, had passed. McDermott became the new defensive coordinator, and after a year or two, Andy Reid decided that the shadow was too long for Sean McDermott. He wasn't going to live up to Jim Johnson, and that's part of this too.
Yeah.
If and when they get together,
that would be great.
Yeah. Couple of questions. Orion Chuzzlewit. I thought the rule was you were the king of the hill until you got beat. What gives? Is the measuring stick different for the Chiefs compared to the rest of the NFL? No, I changed the stand. Look, and as we go through these, if we ever get beyond the top two, because there's so much to talk about with the top two, this is the week that I decided, at least in the top 10, to follow your advice.
I like it.
And go with who would win if they played right now. So I shuffled it around. Because as we get closer to the playoffs, that's a more relevant assessment.
Yes.
As we are approaching, who would win? Who would win? We're going to put them in here based on who's going to win, because they're going to have these opportunities to cross paths coming up very soon.
And we know who these
elimination
teams
setting.
are right now and everything. That makes sense. I think you're right there. I get that. Week 10, you might want to go more with the body of work. Right now, you're going to how's this team playing right now, and how do they match up if they had to play each other? That makes sense. And to that point, I mean, we've talked about it many times. In your defense of these power rankings or this question, after you get done with the top 4 teams, it's I don't know. Pick your week. The teams are so close there. Yeah, we know the Bucs and Seahawks are really damn good, but it's been kind of a shuffle through those teams. Maybe we have a little bit of a clearer picture right now than maybe ever before. I feel like your top 7 is on point. Really, your top 8. I think maybe I would have put the Seahawks in front of the Bucs, but other than that, I think those are legitimately the top 8 teams in football right now. And I see it that way, and I would have a hard time seeing it any other way right now.
Chris, I was going to put the Seahawks on top of the Bucs.
Right.
I didn't feel good about moving Tampa Bay up 6 spots, but I went back to your guiding principle. Who would win if they played right now? And I think right now, line them up right now, Tampa Bay would beat the Seahawks right now.
Yeah.
Whether or not I feel that way when they play each other in the postseason, and maybe they will, maybe they won't, that's a different story. But right now, look, I put a ton of stock in what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did to the Detroit Lions. And I know there's a question down here, and let me go ahead and give the person credit who planted this idea in my brain. This is from Dead Armadillo. Not sure Tampa Bay should move up 6 spots after beating a Lions team without Matthew Stafford and 80% of their coaches. They have only 1 win versus a team with a winning record. The way that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because all these teams are NFL teams. I don't care if you're down to the interim head coach, and if you're down to the backup quarterback. We still see teams like that be competitive and not get blown off the field. It's the NFL.
Right.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers had their way with the Detroit Lions, and Tom Brady could have thrown for 600 yards if they had left him in the entirety of the game and kept attacking. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Saturday reached where we thought they would be much, much earlier in the season. They are peaking at the absolute right time. They have figured it out. They had that late bye. Since that bye week, they have been dramatically better, especially offensively. And one of the things Bruce Arians said after the game is basically, we're done deferring if we win the coin toss. We want the ball. That's their new mindset. Let's get our offense on the field and let's go score. Let's not give the other team a chance to get up 7-0 or 3-0. We're taking the ball and we're going to score, Matt Hasselbeck. And that's the mindset that they now have, and I think it's all happening at the perfect time. And again, that's why I moved them up as far as I did, because as we get to the playoffs, they are finally getting to the point where we thought they were going to be all year.
I'm with you there. I got no problem with that. I think that's, like you said, the Seahawks versus the Bucs, that's a 50-50 ball game right now. The Bucs, the way they've played on offense the last few weeks since that bye week, they've had a few stale moments, like in the start of the Minnesota game, the Atlanta game. But come back playing a style of football, I think, to your point, where we go, whoa, this is high-level stuff. This is good as, this looks like cream of the crop NFL football team. And again, I don't give a damn about the Lions thing last week either. How many times do we see teams fall into that trap and then fall asleep at the wheel, and all of a sudden they're involved in some football game, with a team that shouldn't be close? The Bucs didn't do that. And I understand Bruce Arians. You got Tom Brady, execution, first drive. Yeah, you got a chance to go down there and score points, do all that. I'm with you, Mike, with the Bucs all the way. I know people talk about, they only got 1 win versus a team with a winning record. I don't know if that's true, right? The Las Vegas Raiders still have a winning record right now, aren't they? Green Bay Packers.
I don't think they do.
Yeah, are they officially below? They're 7-8. All right, so it still is 1 win. I thought it was 2. But okay, their losses, other than that second Saints game, lost by 3 points to the Rams, lost by 3 points to the Chiefs, and weren't outclassed. And I think to your point too, I think if they played the Rams right now, I'm taking the Bucs all day long, no doubt about it. I think the Bucs have a better idea of who they are as a team now, and that's finally coming to a pinnacle here to where we're seeing the best version they can be.
Teams get better, teams get worse, teams rarely stay the same. The Bucs have gotten better since their bye week, and we've seen it the last 3 games. And the Bills are number 1 because they have gotten dramatically better since their bye week. They took that Hail Mary and they turned it into a positive, and they have not looked back, and they have won. And I know it's not a murderer's row of opponents. They have won every game by double digits, and they have 4 straight nationally televised games where everyone is watching. There's no tightness. There's no nervousness. There's no anxiety from the Buffalo Bills. They show up, they kick your ass, and they go home.
Yep.
And that is the mindset that Sean McDermott has instilled in his team.
Yeah, I agree. There is a confidence and a glow, for lack of a better way to say it, about them right now. You could see it within them. It shows on TV, I feel like. Just the energy and the way they hop around, the look on their face when you see close-ups, all of that. There's a looseness and a belief that you see from the top teams in football. Like you could see it with the 49ers last year when we were in person and on TV leading up to we saw that. We've seen it from the Chiefs the last few years. It doesn't necessarily mean it ends up being in the Super Bowl, but it means that they're in that class of the conversation, and I think clearly they are. And I think clearly they're one of the 2 best teams in football right now. Whether you think they're 1 or 2, it doesn't matter. I think you're totally justified in having them, at 1. I got no issue with it. Yeah, I'd put the Chiefs at 1, but they're definitely one of the top 2 for me. I'm with you there.
Here's a question from JV and number 7 Ravens. What made them jump the Steelers and the Dolphins, who both won last week? And look, I violated my standard rule, and it's kind of the old school, back to when it was the UPI college football rankings, where you don't fall if you lose. You don't fall if you win. You don't fall if you win. You only fall if you lose. And yeah, the Steelers won. And yeah, the Dolphins won. But the Ravens are getting better and better and better. They have that same thing. I put them in the same category as the Buccaneers and the Bills right now.
Sure.
Peaking at the right time. Winning games when they need to. The Ravens are that team. And, every year around Thanksgiving, there's that team that's kind of floating around 500, and they find the gas pedal, and they find themselves in playoff games in December, and they just keep winning and winning and winning and winning and winning, and they're very dangerous. We talked about that earlier. The Bills don't want any part of them in the wild card round. The Steelers don't want any part of the Ravens in the wild card round, and the Ravens are going to be a problem for somebody in a couple of weeks if they get in. That's why I moved the Ravens up to number 7, and that's what's amazing. Can we show the full power ranking? That's how crazy this year is between the AFC and the NFC. In the NFC, you've got the Giants at 27, and they still may host a playoff game. You've got the Ravens at 7, and they may not make the playoffs at all, Chris.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. It is crazy. And I think you're fine. Ravens at 7. I wouldn't be mad if you had the Ravens at 4. With the way they're playing the last few weeks, yeah, I think they got it going. Plus, they're healthy again. Yeah, they went through a little stretch where they lost, a close game to the Tennessee Titans. That could have gone either way. They could have won. They lost the Pittsburgh game where the first time around, they really messed it up. We talked about it. They outplayed Pittsburgh. But Lamar Jackson holds the ball too long on the 5-yard line. Strip sack going in to score. Throws the pick 6. The second time around, they had the COVID-19 issues when they played them. And still outplayed the Steelers. Lost a close football game. Probably I feel good they might win the football game if Robert Griffin III can just continue. So they went through a little bit of a lull in the season. Were a little unlucky and unfortunate and played some good teams, but have righted that ship and been dominant ever since, and we've seen improvements, and I'm with you. I think they're very scary. There's no doubt. Bills, Chiefs, clearly the top 2 teams in the AFC, but I look at the Ravens as that other team that can upset that party somehow, some way, and maybe beat both of them or maybe just beat one of them to where, now they got to play one of them in the AFC Championship game. But I think they are, what do I want to say? They're the number 1 team to watch out for.
I think they're far more dangerous in the postseason as that team that is coming up on the outside, not the front runner. Because we saw it last year. We saw it as 14-2. It didn't work.
Yeah.
The year before, they had a home playoff game. It didn't work. This is a team that I think needs to have that edge. that chip on the shoulder that we're going to show up and we're going to screw up your season. And look, they got a taste of it last year, of what it's like to have a special season screwed up. So they got a chance to screw up Kansas City's special season, Buffalo's special season. I still go back to what Lamar Jackson said after they lost to the Chiefs on the Monday night week 3, and my God, that seems like a long time ago, but it really wasn't, that the Chiefs are our kryptonite. They need a different attitude about the Kansas City Chiefs because they have played them competitively, and they could beat them.
Definitely.
They could beat the team. And you know, before I get too excited about the Bills-Chiefs AFC Championship game, yeah, the Ravens could screw it up.
Yeah.
And when we're watching the Ravens play the Chiefs or the Bills in the divisional round, we're going to be fascinated by the possibility of the Ravens winning. And immediately after that happens, we're going to say, crap, there went Chiefs-Bills, Chris.
Well, they might, but I'm not going to be too, in mourning too long there. I'm going to be, oh, damn, we lost Chiefs-Bills. Okay, we get Ravens-Chiefs.
Well, we got Ravens-Bills.
Right,
Yeah.
or Ravens-Bills, either way. I think if you give me any of those, you take those 3 teams, I don't give a damn what combination we put them in. You make that the AFC Championship game, I'm happy. That to me is, will be can't-miss football. And they're Super Bowl caliber football teams, but yeah, I mean, Mike, the Ravens versus the Seahawks, the Bucks, all of that. I think they're right in the class of those teams. You obviously think the Bucks and Seahawks are a little bit better. It's right there with it. Again, that's very close right there, all together.
Dolphins at number 9. They moved up a spot after beating the Raiders on Saturday night. Mr. J. Rangers asks, what's your Coach of the Year pick? Brian Flores for taking a 32nd ranked defense to number 1. And look, I was all over the Kevin Stefanski bandwagon before they lost to the Jets. And when you look at what Brian Flores did and how he navigated that minefield on Saturday night and how he's found this perfect balance of when to use Ryan Fitzpatrick, when not to use him, stick with the rookie Tua Tagovailoa, keep your locker room from having a full-blown, wait for it, schism. Remember that? The schism in Minnesota when Brett Favre came until they saw what Brett Favre could do. Then there was no schism anymore. That, to me, is making Brian Flores a viable candidate. That's why they don't take the votes until after the season ends. Because I was all over Stefanski. But, hey, you know what? If the Dolphins get in and the Browns don't, it's easy. The Browns have to get in for Stefanski to even be considered. The Dolphins and Brian Flores, what they've done is special. And you could argue that what Flores has done is more special than what Stefanski's done because Stefanski inherited something better than what Flores got last year. And it's almost like he's getting credit for last year, too.
Right.
But that's part of the story, how bad they were. They were tanking. They were horrible. They were awful. And then all of a sudden he started to turn the tide. And we've seen it this year. Get back to me Monday. Because it could be Flores by the time it's all said and done.
He's right there in the running, at least for me. I think for both of us, of course, it's amazing what they've done down there. Him and Chris Greer, the vision they had a year ago, the moves they made, that was amazing. And, of course, yes, he's improved the football team. We showed those stats there and everything like that. Yeah, they're the 20th ranked defense as far as yards allowed. But I think that's another stat that I think is falling by the wayside here. Because, Nicole, can you put up that graphic again by the Miami Dolphins? The NFL's changed. The game, because I hear this a lot where it's, guys don't tackle as good anymore and do that. Okay, maybe not. But I don't think they care anymore. The game is about, just like baseball, home runs and strikeouts. We don't care about base hits. Okay. We want to not let you score, and we want to take the ball away, and we want to get you off the field. And it's, on offensive football in this day and age in the NFL, it's about big plays and scoring touchdowns too. Oh, great. Yeah, your completion percentage is awesome, and you move the ball between the 30-yard lines. It doesn't matter. But that's the big thing. People move the ball on them, but they make plays on the defensive side of the ball almost every game that are game-changing. And that's where they've been really special that way, and his balance and everything like that. Mike, I don't know. To me, it seems like it's the hardest year ever to pick Coach of the Year. I really, you talk about him. How is Mike Tomlin not, legitimately? Sean McDermott. Are you kidding me? Matt LaFleur is the most underrated head coach I've seen in the history of football since I've grown up. all the guy does is win, and he took over a tough situation.
25-6.
That's
25-6.
That's insane. So, I mean, you think of all those aspects, and I don't know who you pick out of that crew right there.
Yeah, you're right. And Ron Rivera, we have to mention him for what he's done in Washington. They may still win the division.
Andy
Sean
Reid.
Payton's done great things with the Saints. Andy Reid with the Chiefs.
Holy cow.
You know, Bruce Arians, the way the Buccaneers are coming on.
Right.
Yeah, it's not going to be
That's
easy.
a tough one.
And this is why I say these awards need to have first place, second place, third place. It can't be one vote, all or nothing per person, because I like the idea that there's a final tally that gives some recognition beyond whoever wins it. And this year, I think there will be multiple names. It's not going to be two guys splitting the vote or, 40 and 10 or whatever the case may be. It's going to be 4 or 5 names, maybe more, who end up getting votes before it's all said and done.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.
And I'm sure next Thursday morning I'll get a call from my son. You're going to be on, aren't you? Not,
you know it.
Will you come
it's
on?
Coming.
You're going to be on, right? So, Ahmed, I don't know where I went wrong.
Yo, what's up? It's Chris Sims, and this is Chris Sims Unbuttoned Podcast brought to you by Verizon. I am riding solo dolo today, as you could tell. It is me, just by myself. And yes, I'm not stupid. I am calling my dad for help. I need a little help. Need the old right-hander in here to help me out today. Paul Burmeister, Ahmed Fareed. We had some COVID-19 complications here at NBC. A lot of moving parts these days. So I got to do it by myself. It's a Monday podcast. We're going to hit just about every game, just like we always do. I'm not saying we're going to devote a huge amount of time to every football game. But either way, you know how this goes down, and we'll touch on something. And I've gotten to watch some film of some certain games, too, to where I can give some extra nuance. Big Phil should be calling in a few minutes. I'm sure he'll have his thoughts and things to talk about. There's no doubt about that. But either way, awesome Sunday as usual. I mean, awesome weekend of football. Saturday, 3 pretty good games. We had the Saturday scrimmage by the Buccaneers-Lions, which was fun to watch. Brady just diced them up. The 49ers-Cardinals will hit that. The Dolphins-Raiders game. I watched the film with Tua and Fitzpatrick. Going to be able to give you some things to hit on there. Of course, the Saints butt-whooping on Christmas. All fun to watch. And then Sunday delivered as usual, whether that's the Steelers' big comeback, the Chiefs struggling. Oh, thy MVP strikes again. Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson look good. We're going to hit it all. But the main story of the day, I don't think, no doubt about it. The Steelers were down and out in the third quarter. It was over. What? They can't move the ball. Big Ben looks crappy. Offense looks crappy. Defense having a hard time slowing down Phillip Rivers and company. All of a sudden, life changed. One play. Slant and go down the right sideline, Deontay Johnson. And I think that's where we'll start, right here. Got some questions. Bronson Paradis, what exactly did my Steelers do to make the 17-point comeback happen? Was it just everyone executing? Was it Randy Fichtner not holding the offense back? Okay, Randy Fichtner's been doing a great job. Let's not, get on him too hard here. The formula which he put out there was successful for 11 weeks in a row. Players deserve some of the issues here, or some of the blame as well. Now, here's the big thing to me with the comeback. Early on, certainly off-kilter. This is a Steelers offense, one that we talked about last week, had become predictable within its predictableness. I mean, yeah, we know you're going to throw the ball every play, but now we know you're going to throw the ball every play 5 yards down the field in these areas, and you could just play areas against them. Early on, it was Strugglesville, certainly, but I think this is the big thing that jumped out to me more than anything, all right? When they started to move the ball, and you see this if you're watching on YouTube right now, the second half transformation was 23 of 29 for Big Ben for 244 yards and 3 touchdown passes, okay? But the thing that I think more than anything that we saw from this football game to where it changed over, one, Colts are a little like they're the 49ers light on defense. That's what they are. They're the 49ers from last year, except their pass rush isn't quite as good. Their secondary is not quite as good. Their linebackers aren't quite as good. As games go on, the Colts pass rush dies out. That's been a consistent theme all year long. Also, I'll say this. I think they get a little too simple on the defensive side of the ball. You know, especially in moments where, hey, your defense is being carved up. You got to do something to give them a schematical advantage, to make a play, change the momentum of the football game, whatever that may be. But it really goes down to something we've talked about a lot. It came down to throwing the ball down the field and being more aggressive. That's all I can really say was the biggest difference in the second half as compared to the first. Saw the Deontay Johnson touchdown. Okay, that was an empty sluggo, slant go up the sideline, ultimately ended up being like one-on-one coverage on the outside. You see James Connors in the slot. They're trying to make it look like slant flat to the right. And we can rewind that one more time to start. They run the outside receiver on a slant, James Conner in the slot, number 30 there, on a flat route a lot. So they're trying to make it look like that, but they're going to trick you and give you something else. Deontay Johnson, a great little head fake jab inside. And then he beats, I believe that was Rocky Sin on that play down the sideline for the touchdown. Now, going on from there, that continued. You know, Pittsburgh is not good enough. Two things here. The aggressive play calling, what we talked about, and then Pittsburgh's not good enough right now to play behind the chains or play even in second long. When you don't have a run game and you don't have a mobile quarterback, it's hard to convert second and third downs all the time when everybody just knows you're going to throw the football. So, you know, they had started to attack down the field in the pass game more. And on the third drive of the second half, right, they have the first drive that goes down, 1 yard line, no points. Second drive is the one play, touchdown. We just showed it. Third drive of the second half, again, they move the ball down the field. They get the touchdown to Eric Ebron on a little short, like basically a screen play to the left side. But the point is, on that play, on that drive, to give them 21, they were aggressive once again. Two things happened, okay? And that is, they got two big pass interference calls. That's another aspect of being aggressive down the field. You can't forget that pass interference is very prevalent and realistic in this day and age on down the field throws. So between that, and then I'll tell you what else happened off of that, the screen game started to get open because now Colts are worried about getting back. Oh, they're throwing the ball down the field. Oh, wait, there's James Conner underneath. Or there's a wide receiver screen underneath, and that was very effective. But I think that was ultimately the biggest thing that I saw, was that when they got down, yeah, okay, they didn't panic, they stayed, but in the second half, we just saw more of an aggressive throwing attack from the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I like that. And we saw some variance, too. Double moves, free releasers. The last touchdown pass to Juju Smith-Schuster is keep the tight end in block, max protect, down the field. Again, Pittsburgh's not going to become a running football team. We know that, okay? But they can improve what they do and be more diversified in the passing game, and I think that's the big thing there altogether. All right, I think we hit enough on that game. We talk about their defense. Hey, they were phenomenal. Holding the Colts, shutting them down in the second half. And let's see, I know I got questions here. Oh, I got a question from Colts RV. Why did the Colts abandon the run game in the second half? This appears to be a reoccurring issue. I would agree the Colts are not the most patient with the run game, but really in the second half, the biggest thing is they couldn't get a first down for a while to really start saying, okay, we're going to establish a run game once again like we did in the first half. That was an issue. They were smothered by the Pittsburgh defense. Then they got a little drive going finally at 28-24, and that's when Phillip Rivers on a 1st and 10 threw a bad interception down the middle of the field, which just, can't happen for a guy like Phillip Rivers. So that was tough there, let alone one of the things you need to do when you play the Pittsburgh Steelers is go, I'm not going to let their defense score points on us. And yeah, I know the offense scored the first touchdown of the day on a 3-play, 3-yard drive, but the defense set that up. That has to be part of playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. Colts lost sight of that, lost their mojo on the offensive side of the ball in the second half altogether. I don't think they necessarily abandoned the run, all right? It's just more of They got stuck in not being able to get first down, stay on the field, and never had that chance to kind of get it going once again. Had one more question from @SportsLover2010. Why do the Steelers struggle so much running the ball? Is it a personnel issue? Is it a scheme issue? It's a little bit of everything, let alone, and more than anything, it's just an attitude thing. You know, this is the way they've set up their year. Started out the year throwing the ball a lot, short passes, everything like that. They're having a hard time transforming into the run game. It's not going to happen at this point. All right. Let's go to the next game. Jets-Browns, big football game. Browns, come on, curveball of the year with the COVID-19 outbreak on their football team the day before the football game. I mean, that's a pretty big-time change to have to adjust to on the fly. And I know it was a lot of contact tracing and guys that were around someone that had COVID-19. I can't even remember all the details. All right, either way, we're shocked, right? I thought Cleveland would win the football game. I picked Cleveland to win the football game 23-20 because I thought the Jets could give them some issues. Now, if you told me no receivers for Cleveland and all that, I probably still would have picked Cleveland in a close football game. But the Jets did some good things. Here I got a first question from Stafford for MVP. Please explain why the Browns threw the ball 50-plus times. Thought it was obvious, 20-plus carries for Chubb and Hunt. They threw the ball on first and second down way too much. Stafford for MVP, you're correct. They did. Now, two things. I think, one, it's hard to just readjust your game plan all week. You know, we've been doing this, we've been practicing this, because this defense does this and is good at this and bad at that, and then all of a sudden you Saturday night go, whoa, I don't have some of my guys here. All right, so you know you're not going to totally just throw out the game plan and go, hey, we're going to start back from scratch, guys. No, they got the practice squad, some practice squad receivers up. They used the tight ends to fill into some wide receiver positions, and they tried to still go with their game plan. Were they a little pass happy? Sure, but I would challenge my man Stafford for MVP there. Go back and watch. First off, the Jets front is very good. It's stout as hell. It's been beating the crap out of a lot of offensive lines lately, and they were playing such a we're going to stop the run defensive front that I think Stefanski and Baker Mayfield were like, we're not having success running the ball, let alone when the box is stacked. So let's try to throw the ball from there. The Jets, Sam Darnold made some good plays, moving the ball efficient. They didn't make any big mistakes on the offensive side of the ball. They were lucky at one time. Myles Garrett did get a strip sack fumble that would have been a touchdown for the Cleveland Browns. I don't understand why that was not called that on the field. Either way, they called it incomplete on the field. The play stands. Okay, there was that. All right, next question with the Browns-Jets game. What was the deal with Stefanski's game plan yesterday? Yeah, well, we hit this already, but it's the same thing. It was the Jets' approach. The Jets have a stout, big defensive line. They were all over the run game. And I think pretty early on in the game, Stefanski, Baker Mayfield realized they weren't going to have success just going, hey, we're going to run the football. So they tried to start to throw the football to maybe get the Jets out of some of these run-stopping defenses to where they could go back to running it, but neither one was successful without the wide receivers. And the last thing here that we can't forget with the Cleveland Browns, running game, play action, bootlegs. Not every game starts out run, and then we go play action boots now because they're overplaying the run. A lot of the games, we can't forget with the Cleveland Browns, they come out and play action, and now the defense is so worried about play action, and bootlegs, and we have to worry about this, then that helps out the run game too. The Jets really didn't have to worry about some of the explosive bootleg play action pass game because of the personnel. That also, I think, that obviously played in their favor. But yeah, you have 2 rollouts and 57 dropbacks. We weren't expecting that out of the Cleveland Browns football team, certainly. But Jets keep fighting, and they are out of the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes for sure now, and we'll see what they do. Going to be an interesting conversation, just about, do they keep Sam Darnold? Do they look for a quarterback? What I would say out there is, I don't know if there's a quarterback in the draft that's better than Sam Darnold right now. Other than Trevor Lawrence, you're not going to get Trevor Lawrence. So, I don't know. You're going to have a top 5, top 6 draft pick. Maybe you could trade down, get a lot of picks. You already got 2 first-round picks this year anyways. Have a chance to really build your football team too. So, we'll see where they go. It's going to be interesting offseason altogether. All right, let's hit one of the other big surprises of the day. Atlanta versus Kansas City. Kansas City struggling on offense right now. You know, it's not been pretty, and I think you can realistically say that I would say this is one of the choppier, if not the choppiest stretch of play of 3 games we've ever seen from Patrick Mahomes. I think that's fair to say, right, Pete? I mean, when you think about 3 weeks ago, the Miami Dolphins game, some of the turnovers, interceptions early on in that. The Saints game was not pretty last week in the Dome for Patrick Mahomes. He was hit a lot. He made some questionable, decisions. Then yesterday, some errant throws, and again, some questionable decisions that made the game very interesting, maybe more interesting than it needed to. Now, got a good question here from Orion Chuzzlewit. I hope I said that right. Do you think the Chiefs will benefit from a bye, resting starters for Week 17, or do you fear they could come into playoffs even more rusty? Yeah, I don't think the Chiefs need to rest anybody Week 17. I don't. Yes, they got a bullseye in their back. That doesn't mean you have to play the full game at full intensity. But I think you should at least start your team, play them, get some of the issues worked out with your football team, go into the playoffs maybe with some more positive vibes and just going, we squeaked by and we're outplayed by the Falcons in a 17-14 game. So that would be my 2 cents there. I do think the bye week is going to help their football team just because they were the hunted all year long. We've talked about it a lot on this podcast. Everybody's got Kansas City circled on their schedule. So when you play them, yeah, you get your best shot. There's no doubt about that. Mahomes has been off. I think the biggest thing that I take away from it is the lack of pass protection on their offensive line. It's not only, of course, affecting plays Andy Reid can call, but now it's really starting to affect Mahomes. We know how awesome he is at making people miss, do those things, all right? But what I'm seeing a little lately is, I don't want to see seeing ghosts, but I've seen throws that I usually don't see Mahomes miss, and I'm seeing movement in the pocket that there's no need for. I'm trying to think of a better way to phrase that either way, but movement that's not unnecessary movement. Thank you, Pete, for helping me with English. I'm not always good with that language, but yes, unnecessary movement. Too many times where, let's just take the interception in the end zone, where you go, the pocket's perfect, just stand in there, throw the ball, he's kind of fading away. Hey, the pocket's perfect this time. He's moving for some reason and making the throw kind of on the move without his feet set. Off-target throw. Now listen, I know he's as good as anybody we've ever seen at doing that type of stuff. And he gets them out of dodge a lot by pulling magic off. But I do think the pressure is starting to affect him a little bit. It's affecting his decision-making, his patience, and his throwing. And I think we've seen that over the last few weeks by what we see on the offensive side of the ball. Let me get to another question here. Curl Scouts, I like that. Curl Scouts of America. Conspiracy theory. Did the Chiefs' offense play bad on purpose to test the defense? No, I don't think that is the case. Now, the one thing about the Chiefs is, I mean, when they have to step on the gas pedal, there's nobody better. They really are not. I mean, it's just amazing how they can execute when they want to execute. And I think that's what I saw from the 2 most important drives of the football game. Instead of Andy Reid trying to fix or make the perfect play against the perfect coverage, hey, they get some of the most exotic, crazy things every week on the defensive side of the ball. Because teams that play the Chiefs know, we got to do something different or crazy, or we're not going to be able to beat them to a degree. Raheem Morris took some calculated risk yesterday that certainly helped the Falcons, but played some defenses a few times where you just go, whoa, this is risky, but it confused the Chiefs, it confused Mahomes. They let people sometimes, might have had 3 receivers to the right. 2 of them had man-to-man. The one guy on the inside, you go, nobody's covering him. What the hell are they doing? And Keanu Neal was on the opposite side of the field, maybe looking like he's going to blitz off the left side, was then going to drop out and cover Tyreek Hill running a go route from the other side of the field. But it's so unsound and crazy that you almost don't think about looking there as a quarterback. It's such a curveball. It's just interesting. But it gave them a little bit of a schematical advantage. And the big turnaround for me was this with the Chiefs. More all-purpose plays. Balls that got out of Mahomes' hand fast. But when I mean all-purpose plays where you don't have to always be right about the coverage you're seeing. You know, there's so many plays in the NFL. Hey, we're calling this play because it works against this coverage. Hey, and if they don't play that coverage, I want you to check into the line of scrimmage to get to the other play because it's great against the other coverage they're going to play if they don't play that one. Okay, you can't always guess. And, of course, teams that play the Chiefs know that they got to be a little different about how they approach and break some of their tendencies, or Mahomes and then are going to tear them up. So the Chiefs at times, when I've seen them struggle, the one thing they've done is they go back to, let's get the ball out of his hands quick, let's let him just get it out, throw it, and then all-purpose plays are what I mean where who cares what the coverage is. You're going to look to the left, that's your first read, and then there's a guy coming into your vision, that's your second read, and another guy coming across your third read. We don't care what coverage it is, just go across the board and throw to the open damn guy. And I think that's really what got them going late in the second quarter, and really went back to that, of course, with the game-winning drive on the line. But a lot of mistakes from the Chiefs, sloppy play, certainly all around. But the big touchdown pass to seal it by Patrick Mahomes. A.J. Terrell has a chance to intercept the ball on the play before, a go route to Tyreek Hill, and then comes the touchdown pass. Oddly enough, was very similar to the Juju Smith game winner that he had for the Steelers over the Colts. But Pete, do we have that play? Are we going to show that play? Okay, so let's show that play because it was a brilliant design play by the Kansas City Chiefs. Don't start yet. Just give me 1 second. Stop it right here. All right, let's rewind to the start. Here we go. So you see here we got two tight ends to the right, all right, and you got two receivers to the left. DeMarcus Robinson, Tyreek Hill to the left. It's a single safety, basically man coverage defense. That's what it is. They have some extra people in the middle of the field because it's Kansas City and they don't know where they're going to attack. So they're trying to help out as much as they can. But the beauty of this play is Tyreek Hill in the slot. We know that's the guy you want to go to. They got Travis Kelce on the right. And, okay, let's start this play. As Mahomes drops back to pass, he stares at Tyreek Hill the whole time, which then brings the safety way over there to where now there's no safety help on DeMarcus Robinson against, I believe that was Kendall Sheffield, covering him one-on-one with just way too much field to cover. This was a total game plan design play by Andy Reid for this exact coverage, and he set up Tyreek and Kelce in an area to where, hey, Mahomes can look over there, it's going to draw the attention of the defense, and you're going to have a one-on-one shot down the middle of the field to DeMarcus Robinson. And as you can see on this too, Kelce's open. It's going to go DeMarcus Robinson. If he's not open, Kelce over the middle for the first down. And they kind of lost their coverage altogether here. But as usual, Kansas City wins the football game. We shouldn't be shocked. All right, we got the big guy in here. What's up, Dad? How are you?
I'm doing well, Christopher. How are you today?
I'm doing good.
I hear you describing that play for Kansas City. Of course, TV doesn't do it justice. I only saw it on TV, and I didn't. But that makes sense. You know, outside technique by the corner or whoever was covering DeMarcus Robinson. I heard you say, but you know he's expecting. Oh, if he goes inside, the safety will be there. Well, I understand why he wasn't there now.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And Mahomes did a great job of kind of staring down Tyreek Hill to make sure the safety. You know, we had a phrase like, you know, make the safety go where he wants to go. Gruden used to say that kind of thing because, you know, they're aware of Tyreek Hill, so make him go there, and then it can open up other things. But
well, you know what? That's easy. Yeah. It really is. Those kind of plays as a quarterback, it's, they looked him off and all that. Well, you know, once you get under center, you go, well, I know where I'm going with the ball. Let me just look it off and do what I want. So that's really very common with any good quarterback or any good system, that they set it up, and you can predetermine where you're going to go throw the football by your actions once you drop back.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Dad. I mean, I talked a little. I don't know how much you heard the pressure and issue with Kansas City. They cannot protect Mahomes. I talked a little bit about how I do think it's affecting him a little bit now. He's moving in the pocket.
And where did you learn that from, son?
Well, what do you mean? Learn what part of it?
He's been under pressure and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I watch football, but we have talked about it a lot. Yeah.
I think your father said, "Have you noticed?" And you go, "Oh, that's a good point,
Yeah,
Dad. I haven't thought of that."
No doubt. But it's,
okay,
it's really
no, just
affecting
kidding.
him.
Now, listen. It's kind of the unknown secret. I talked about it a little this week on CBS and just said we did our after show, and I just said, we're doing this and that. The one thing is Patrick Mahomes is moving more than ever, it seems like, and I see him taking hits that we haven't seen before. Now, I only got to watch the game yesterday. I haven't studied it yet out of the corner of my eye, but it didn't look like they were having great success against. So Atlanta is fast on defense, which is, very helpful against a team like Kansas City. And Atlanta's just playing, they definitely got an edge to them, but they still know how to lose them, at the end somehow. But yeah, the offensive line of Kansas City definitely struggles at times, and I don't think Mahomes trusts them. And you told me earlier today that, he moves sometimes and he doesn't have to. It's becoming a habit and just kind of his nature. Well, let me move and make what I see even clearer. And yesterday it looked like he moved quite a few times. Instead of making it clearer, it kind of jumbled it up even more. So I'm not sure about that. That was just my observation from watching TV.
No, I think that's pretty true there, no doubt about it. And Pete got in my ear. Pete wanted to know why not more Le'Veon Bell yesterday. Listen, Le'Veon Bell, he's got a role within the offense. I don't think Le'Veon Bell is always the perfect guy because he's not hit the hole 100 miles per hour. Le'Veon Bell's speed or lack of speed is a little bit of an issue. I would think that's why Darrell Williams sometimes gets more of the carries in a day like yesterday because he can hit the hole maybe harder than a guy like Le'Veon Bell.
No question, no question. Yeah. Listen, Le'Veon Bell, let's get over quit dreaming. This is not the Le'Veon Bell we saw in Pittsburgh when they had an offensive line that was stacked across the board, and he could actually truly stand behind it and wait to see who moved where on double teams and make his move and go and run. But I did see he was nicked up a little yesterday, too. Saw him on the sideline limping around a little bit. Didn't know if he was hurt. I don't know what his final numbers were, but maybe that had something to do with it. But the fact that he is not super fast hitting the hole, hey, look, he's going to come in very handy.
Yep.
Just like last night watching Dillon for the Green Bay Packers, I must say, that is a new element that they really needed, and that's going to help them, I think, when they play certain teams. Getting tough yards, 2 yards, breaking tackles. And, listen, I didn't realize, I watched him in college. I didn't realize he was as big as he is.
Oh, yes.
That was pretty impressive, too.
No, he really is. I got a chance to see him in person last year with Notre Dame and Boston College.
I know you did. Let me say this.
Yeah.
That's why I'll say right now, now I understand why they drafted A.J. Dillon in the second round. Because he's different from their other running backs. And it's a very big part, I think, of every offense in the NFL, running the football. You need more than one guy, but I want them to be different.
Yeah.
I want speed, which we got in Aaron Jones, and then I want, the thumper.
Right.
And he might be more than that. So, that was really interesting to see. And Green Bay, really impressive last night, but seeing that, seeing how sharp Aaron Rodgers, snow doesn't bother him, the rain doesn't bother him. I've never seen anything like it from a quarterback.
Yeah, no, it is. Honestly, it made me think about changing my pick before the game. I had picked the Titans on my podcast, and I thought, man, it's snowing so hard. I don't like this. And I know Green Bay, and, of course, like you said, Rodgers accustomed to it. And, all right, I want to hit there. I mean, I got a question here for Steve White. He is asking me, after taking the soul of the Titans, are the Packers still fraudulent, as you put it on your show last week, or do they deserve to be tops in the NFC? He is right. I did say that. Yeah, I've had questions about the Green Bay Packers. I will say last night made me think of them differently to a degree. I do think, and I think what I want to get on too is, you just hit on it. I don't think we've seen them run the ball like this the last 5 weeks in the Matt LaFleur era. It makes me think of them a little differently as a team altogether, because no longer is it like, and you correct me if you think I'm wrong or anything, no longer is it like, hey, we're going to throw it Rodgers, and then catch you off guard with Aaron Jones running. Now I feel like they can just say, no, screw you, we're going to run it. And, of course, we have the Rodgers stuff, but we're not as scared to just run it when we're going to run it either. And I think that's something they've improved on.
Well, yeah. Listen. I'll eat my words on that too. You know why? About Green Bay, because I can't get last year out of my thoughts even now.
Right.
I think last night erased some of those. They looked pretty tough and did I thought a really good job against Derrick Henry. Yeah, he did mush them, many times for 5 and 6. I just go, God, the pile just falls forward. But it was Derrick Henry and the Tennessee Titans. And who else can line up and run the ball like that with that kind of power and have that guy? Well, I don't know. I can't really think of any that can do it like Tennessee can. So not only that, Rashawn Gary, just another little added piece.
Yes.
Their secondary,
It's
boy,
gotten
it looked really
right.
The secondary's getting better.
Yeah.
I think it's my hopes or whatever. Let's be honest. CBS, we're doing the Super Bowl. Oh, we have Green Bay in it. Oh, we wouldn't want Green Bay, would we? I mean, they're a national team. Aaron Rodgers would be great. So that's exciting. But yeah, I'm changing a little bit, but for so many reasons. What I saw, what you talked about, what I saw a little on the defense, how they mixed it up, came up with a different plan to stop Tennessee. And, of course, the secondary, the way it played was pretty impressive, too.
Yeah, it definitely was.